Okay, good evening. This is Debbie Davis. It is November 25th, 2022, and just touching base. There's a lot of things going on in Arizona and other things, and so we're going to touch on that a little bit because, of course, I've been mentioning things about Arizona for years now, so I wanted to touch base on the latest issues there. So I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, and I had a very relaxing one. And I saw a really good movie that I wanted to mention. And if you guys get a chance to watch it, you should. It was called 12 Strong, and so it was something that you didn't ever hear about, which you should have. You know, these are stories that happened in the military that the mainstream news never covered, and these are such important, powerful stories that I'm so glad it's finally coming out. But this one was about a unit, one of the very first units in after 9/11 into Afghanistan, and because it was they were said that it was the Taliban that did the attacks on 9/11, so they were a special forces unit, which were the very first unit in there, and there was 12 guys, and they worked like just extremely well with this local warlord that was very against the Taliban, and they were like there's some people that are of course trying to fight the Taliban there, but they've become getting so powerful in Afghanistan. So this group was one of the first ones in there, and they took out like the Taliban in like 6 different villages. They worked with an air command, and it was this was apparently like the greatest defeat of the entire Taliban history, and so that's something. It's a really good story, and so there was a statue. There's a bronze horse statue dedicated to these United States Special Forces team that accomplished that is in the September 11th Memorial and Museum in New York City. And so there was something dedicated to them because it was literally like the biggest fight against the biggest defeat of the Taliban in their entire history. So I'm glad there was some recognition of these guys. They're total heroes. So anyway, so there's things going on, of course, in Arizona, like there has been in the past. Total fraud. They're trying to commit fraud again. So Katie Hobbs, the Katie Hobbs-Kari Lake election there. Okay, so once again, Maricopa County has been trying to do fraud. Okay, so anytime there's electric, we just can't. They keep messing with any kind of ballot. If it's not paper ballots, they find a way to mess with it. Is pretty much what's happening. And then just about 1 year ago, which I'll share the link under this video. Just a year ago, I did a video about how, if you remember, just a year ago, they were doing a recount of the 2020 election in Arizona because all the states were being recounted, and these same people, this Katie Hobbs and the Maricopa sheriff, were caught. Okay, so everything was in this one auditorium, and it was under surveillance 24/7. And this Katie Hobbs and this Maricopa sheriff were caught in the middle of the night messing with the ballots. And I remember this video coming out briefly, and I remember thinking, oh my God, they're going to take this down. So I took a screenshot, and I have that on my video from a year ago, and I'll put it down here, where they were caught in the middle of the night tampering with the ballots, tampering with the recount. Okay, so these guys are criminals, and she shouldn't have even been allowed to run after being caught on camera like that. So I hope they get caught. they get, persecuted for fraud, because this whole thing was under surveillance this time. I mean, because they already knew what they did last time. And I mean, so I believe, this time I believe she's going to be caught for fraud, and she needs to be. So I've been saying this for years now, that county was corrupted by John McCain, that Maricopa County, because John McCain was the secret kingpin of the deep state. I have been saying this hardly any, and I mean, it's slowly leaking out, truly who he was, but it's so hard for people to grasp. It still is hard for people to grasp because the media has lied so badly to us about him for years, and shame on them, because he was the opposite of a hero. He was the biggest traitor of them all, besides Hillary Clinton. I mean, these people, he was pure evil. And I mean, I'm watching this movie last night, and and the Taliban has all this equipment and look like American equipment, and my understanding is John McCain is the one who armed them and ISIS with all this, with our own equipment. They had very advanced mortars and American guns, the Taliban. Okay, so I mean, come on, it doesn't, once you just start putting these pieces together, you'll understand that, the level of treason that has happened in our country, and who, that John McCain was very much involved. He'd make these trips saying, to Afghanistan and in Iraq and these different places, and he's, would say that he's going to go check on the situation or whatever, but really what he was doing, he was arming these guys. He was a traitor. He was a traitor through and through. So, I mean, I've been saying this for years. I risked my life as a soldier to report crimes that are happening at that base in Arizona. And I mean, it's all just, the truth is coming out. The truth is coming out, and it always does eventually. So, I'll put that link of that video that I did a year ago where they were caught under camera. And I mean, right there, she should have been arrested right there. She had never even been allowed to run. So, then they, they just can't have any kind of electronic voting equipment, because it all gets tampered with somehow by, these computer people, so it's just, so they're talking about maybe completely redoing the election with ballot elections, and so we'll see what happens there. But I believe that they just need to be arrested. Katie Hobbs and the sheriff and whoever was involved in this, they all just need to be arrested, because they caught them. They were caught a year ago. I mean, then you have Biden and his son being formally investigated now, and where, I mean, they're going to find, and they already know this, that there's ties. They've had ties for years with communist China, and involved in child trafficking. I mean, that's not only grounds for impeachment, that's grounds for treason. I mean, this everything just is coming to a head, and I hope that there can finally be some justice, because we just need to demand it. We just need to demand justice, and because it's just, this has just gone on too long. All this fraud against us, but I mean, and then, there was a movie, another good movie, if you get a chance to watch, that was a true story based on something that happened under the Obama-Biden administration that not that many people heard about. It was a movie called The Outpost, and that was based on a true story of a unit that went. I think the unit was either from New York or Colorado. I couldn't tell. It was kind of hard to get exactly where they were from, but they were put in this post in Afghanistan I don't know exactly what their mission was. I guess looking for the Taliban, but they were basically like sitting ducks because the Taliban was totally surrounding them. It was in the mountains, you know, that's where they're from, and they had night vision equipment. They have mortars. They're totally armed, and they started attacking them. They were like sitting ducks. They didn't have enough ammo. They didn't have enough air support. They didn't have enough anything. I mean, whoever planned this whole deployment just left these people just in a horrible situation. Like the whole command should get in trouble. I mean, half of them didn't make it out. I mean, I won't ruin the story, but I mean, they basically like hundreds of, basically got attacked by hundreds of Taliban, and they hardly made it out. I mean, some got out in some armored vehicles and stuff like that, but I mean, it wasn't good, you know. And I'm sure the military, the guys involved, I mean, they were just totally traumatized. I mean, they were just like, they felt like so deserted by their own government. It's so unprotected. I mean, just, I'm sure they're still traumatized. Like I'm still traumatized by my military situation in Arizona because of how the leadership, you know, the leadership was just so bad under Obama Biden. I mean, just, this is one story, and then my base, and there's tons of other things that hasn't come out. I mean, there's, you know, so anyway, hope everybody has a good rest of their holiday, and just wanted to touch base, and okay, good night.